Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Talks with Mom. Hi, Becky.
Hello, Tara. Good to see you.
Likewise. Well, families, we're so excited that you joined us again. We wanted to follow up from last week's episode where we talked to you about what to do while you wait in waiting for the scholarship. And now tonight we want to talk to you about you've been accepted. Now what do you do? And Becky and I both had that moment when we were waiting to find out whether or not we got in, whether our children were chosen. And for me, we even had to wait and see if we qualified for the school that we had applied to. There were just a lot of moving parts. So Becky and I just wanted to share some of the things that we did and we found useful to help us in that period of being accepted for the scholarship or ESA or whatever it is that you applied for, and when you actually start getting disbursements and school starts. So, Becky, what do you think? I think parents are probably enthusiastically giddy about
Yes.
the process, but probably also very nervous.
Yes, I know when we first started the process, I was nervous because it was so new and we had never we'd never been through anything like this before. And as the mom of a kid with disabilities, like I'm used to the paperwork and I'm used to jumping through hoops and whatever. But this was different because we were excited, we were anticipatory, we were nervous. Like, what do we expect from here? And I think it's important that parents keep in mind that there are some moving parts, and sometimes we don't know the details right up front. Like we're kind of waiting to see how it all unfolds, and that's okay. That's normal.
Yes, and I would agree. And we came from public school, and my daughter was the first one actually that accepted a scholarship, and it was a completely different landscape, if you
Hmm.
will.
That's a good way to
And
put it.
yeah, we got a list of things. I always felt like I was providing for the entire elementary school, Ziploc bags and paper towels and all of these things it needed. And then after that, they kind of shut the door and said, "We'll see you later. Come at pickup time."
Hmm.
And then when we got to the private school, it was completely different. You're
Yes.
in a community. You are now part of the family, so to speak. And
Yes.
there was a lot of things that I needed to figure out. And it was just a little nerve-wracking, very exciting. My daughter was a little apprehensive, but yet excited. So I just really think an episode like this is helpful for families to just go, hey, once you find out that your child has been accepted and you've accepted that scholarship, now it's time to realize you're the driver of the bus,
Yes.
essentially. And I always tell parents that contact me, keep in mind that with choice comes responsibility. You're no
Hmm.
longer being told, drop your child off and we'll see you later. Let us do what we do. Now you are essentially the person directing that education. You're choosing the school, you're choosing to show up, you're basically choosing to monitor all things, which is very exciting because we parents know our children better than anyone else. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Well,
And we find that we are now part of a different environment and a different community. And parents, it is okay to take a pause and take a breath and be like, okay, where do we go from here? We don't have to, rush or anything. We can take a breath and gather our thoughts before we move forward.
I love it. Well, some of you may still be sitting in that hallway waiting for that approval letter, and that's okay because we are just outside of April, and usually things start to happen around the April, May month. Keep in mind that every bit of information that we're giving you right now is approximate
Mhm.
and wait and see. So there's nothing's written in stone. We don't have any control over any of the dates or the timings. We're just sharing information with you to help make your life easier going forward and to give you kind of a rough sketch as to what to look forward as you look down that hallway and go, all right, if I'm getting to June and I haven't heard anything, I might want to make a phone call. So keep that in mind that everything that we give you is for informational purposes only. But April is generally when families get notified of awards. And if you get into the May, June area, you might want to be making some phone calls.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with making a phone call or two just to find out, like, where are things at? Is there anything that I need to send in or anything I need to address? I mean, it's perfectly reasonable to find out where you are in the process. If you come upon May or June and you're like, where am I?
Great. Go ahead. What's the first thing that maybe you would recommend people do once they get their acceptance?
Yeah. Well, each state is different and each state's program is different. And some states require that you pick a school when you apply for the ESA, and others you're waiting to see if you have the ESA before you apply. So if you're in one of those states where you have not applied to the private school yet, you want to make sure that you go ahead and do that, and that you get all of those ducks in a row, and that you have registered, enrolled, completed the paperwork, all of that. If you decide, maybe you're in a state that has a cap on how many educational scholarship that they award. And maybe you're on a waiting list, or maybe you decide, you know what, we're going to pivot to something else. You can always step aside. You can always unenroll if you decide that's not the fit for you. But go make sure that you are enrolled. Make sure that you have your ducks in a row, your paperwork, all that, because you want to hold your place in that school.
Yes, and I would recommend that if you are placeholding, that if you do decide to pivot, go ahead and give that school a contact as soon as
Yes.
you know, so that they can open that up for maybe somebody else on their waiting list.
Yes. Good
You
point.
know, with so many states having choice now, I think it's really important that we just keep in mind that it's not just about us, that there's other that there's other students and families out there just like yourself going, "Hey, I need to make a decision and I hope that something is available for me."
Yeah,
I
and if
think
you are on that waiting list, you just never know. You could get a phone call tomorrow that says, "Hey, we have a spot that opened up." So stay hopeful that you could be next.
well, and that's what's so good about these tips is that you can be prepared. Parents, nothing like grabbing a cup of coffee and sitting down and going, "All right, I'm gonna make a short list of what these ladies have been through before, and it might be proved to be helpful, or maybe it'll be helpful to one of your friends."
Absolutely.
One of the things to look forward to is like when will those dollars be available? And it all depends upon your state. So I highly recommend that you keep an eye on what your state's rules are. Usually sometime mid-summer. I usually tell people, don't get excited until you reach the end of July. And that usually a lot of states will generally apply portions of your child's scholarship into your account or made available to make payments. They don't want parents not being able to pay tuition and purchase the things they
Right.
need, but they're also are not going to give you your full amount generally. Again, that's all open to interpretation by your state. So I highly recommend that you keep an eye on that and also preview what the dates and times are within your state so that you can be prepared for that first quarter of school.
Yeah, and that might be on your state's Department of Education website, or I know in some states it's the Treasurer's Department. It just depends. So familiarize yourself with those websites, and that will help you check out like what are the dates I need to be aware of. Something else, Tara, that I thought about, and this pertains to my daughter because she was in parochial school, uniforms. That was a whole new thing for me because I had never been to a school with uniforms. My son hadn't either. And so I had to find out where we could purchase the uniforms. Because this particular school was kind of strict with where you purchase. You had a couple vendors and that was it. We were fortunate that we had a pre-owned uniform closet that we could go to and check that out. But again, that was not something that I could go in like April or May and check out the uniforms for her. I went in August with Meet the Teacher and did that. But if your student is going to a school with uniforms, find out the vendors, find out, can you pay for them with the scholarship accounts? That will help alleviate some stress so that the first day of school comes and you're not like, oops, I forgot to figure this out ahead of time. So take advantage of knowing in April or May where you need to go to get those uniforms.
Yes, and check their calendars as well at the schools.
Ooh,
Sometimes those uniform vendors have discounted times that you can purchase early part of the summer, depending upon what you choose to do. And also check their return policy so that in the event that you do not get accepted or you don't have what you need, you can make accommodation for that. Another thing that I think is really important for parents to check out is the meal program at your
mhm.
school or place of education. Do they offer one? Are you expected to provide that? Is that something that's included? I know some of the states that we previewed, that was included as part of the dollars that you could spend your child's education money on. So check out those things, but be aware of what is the cost of your lunches? Do you bring a brown bag? Are they provided? Do you have to provide that? Something that you don't think about when your child is coming from a public
Mhm.
school or maybe a
This is
homeschool,
true.
but something that you need to keep an eye on if they're switching over to private.
Yeah,
Yep. Go ahead.
same thing with buses.
Mhm.
Some states allow for ESAs to pay for transportation. Other states do not. So you need to make sure you know what that is like. I know my daughter's school didn't have buses, so we had to learn how to go through Carline, which that's a whole other experience if you've never done it before. So just be aware of the transportation options and how you can navigate through that.
Another thing that you wanna look at, I would suggest, is signing up for any accounts that you may need. Not
Mm,
only with the state, you may have to do a vendor's or a class wallet or the financing piece with that, but you may also have to sign up for accounts at the school of your choice. And, it's a good idea to get those things taken care of. The lunchroom account, I would also recommend that you look at, are there any additional funding sources at the school? Sometimes you
yes.
need to sign up for an account for that as well. And so that's something that you want to get a start on, especially if their application deadlines. So that would be one of the first things I would look at is if I'm applying here and your tuition is more than what your scholarship is, definitely make sure that you get that account set up and you make application for that at the same time that you're applying for the school as well.
Excellent point. And along with that, volunteer opportunities. And to me, there are two different ways to look at this. Obviously, as a parent, you want to get involved in your kid's school, you want to volunteer. When the opportunity arises, you want to be involved. But there are some schools that offer a discount or a credit if you volunteer so many hours. So, for example, maybe you are working in the cafeteria or you're cleaning tables, and they will offer, so much credit per hour that you work. And that is, for some families, that is a game changer because even with an ESA, they may need additional financial support, and that is a great way to do it. Like you're in the school, you're with your kids, you're with their friends, their teachers, you get to know people, and you're getting a small discount off your tuition. It's a win-win.
Yes, that's a wonderful thing to check out. Ours initially offered that here in the state, and then the state did away with that option. So, again, that's very state specific, very
Yes.
program specific, but it
Yeah.
doesn't hurt to ask. It never hurts to ask, "Hey, is this something that your school may choose to do?" One of the things that I know Becky and I have harped on over and over and over is final documents, final documents. Get those final documents in. Have a digital copy, have a hard copy. I always suggest a binder. I think it's important to have something readily available in case you can't find it or they need it right away. But now would be a really good time to follow up on any IEP documents, any doctor's information that you need, any types of forms. Check with the school. Check with, hey, did I get everything? Check with the scholarship, the state Department of Education's application site and say, do I have everything? Double check those things. And also when you were don't hesitate when I mentioned earlier about other funding sources, but don't hesitate to talk to your family members. And I even went as far as distant family members because there were ways that our state offered that you could sign up and have a tax credit, if you contributed to a scholarship granting organization. And so I talked to them. They had a thing called Script where you could buy things locally in the community and get credit for that. So now would be the time while you're finalizing those documents, set up those accounts and really talk to everybody you can think of because it's amazing how many people in your community and family that want to
Yes.
help provide a quality education for the children of our communities.
Yes, and don't forget to ask questions. Tara just mentioned script. That was something that my daughter's school participated in, and I think it was probably. I'm embarrassed to say this out loud, but I think it was probably 2 or 3 years before I was like, "What are they talking about?" And the reality is, things like that they're helpful, but if you haven't been in that environment and you don't
You
know
don't
that
know.
lingo, you're kind of like, ask questions because there's always somebody that's happy to answer your questions about things like that because it's helpful. It's helpful to families.
Yes. Always make sure that you check to see if your vendors are on the list. Um, you may have a specific therapist, and if they're not signed up, as I we had that situation, they were not signed up within our scholarship portal. And so I had to go to them and say, "Hey, I need to get you listed. I need to get you,
Mm, yes.
signed up in that." So now would be a good time to check with the State Department of Education in your state and look at who is listed as a vendor. Is your school on the list? Is your therapist on the list? Is the curriculum as a homeschooler,
Mm,
if that's
yes.
available in your state, are they on the list? And in addition to that, I would also check and make sure that take a preview of your private school's curriculum. See what they're going to be learning. Make sure that you agree with it. And then if you're homeschoolers, make sure that your curriculum, again, the provider and the items that you need are on the list. And if not, then you need to take the lead. Again, you're driving that proverbial bus.
Yes.
Take the lead
Yep.
in making sure that those things are getting signed up for, because you don't want to come to the point where you go to purchase them and realize, "Ugh, now I got to start with paperwork again." From April until your school year starts in the fall, this is a perfect time to be really excited and really robust about getting things done, so that that magical new option is all that you ever dreamed it could be.
Yes, very good point. I would also say check out if your child's new school has an open house or a meet the teacher. I know frequently meet the teacher nights are in the fall, but some schools do them in the spring as well because they are meeting prospective students. I also know that for my daughter's current schooling option, which is homeschool plus a homeschool co op, we had to go. We had to attend a visitor's day. They would not even look at our application unless we showed that we had gone to a visitor's day. And it was maybe an hour, and we toured and we talked with some of the other parents. And it was for us, it was a very low key event. It was very relaxed, but it was one of the requirements. So, depending on where you're looking for your child to go to school in the fall, some things may be mandatory. They want to meet your family before accepting you in the fall, and I think that's fair. You Everybody wants to make sure that it's a good fit, right? So check out if there's an open house, meet the teacher, visitors day, something that gives you a special insight as to the possible new education environment for your kids.
Great. And the last thing that we'd like to suggest is make sure that you check with your secretary at the school and check out their school calendar. Get those dates on your calendar now. Now, it may be a little early in the spring. However, you don't want to wait until back to school night to
No.
get that. Oftentimes, you can check with the school secretary or go on the school's website,
Hmm.
download it, put it into your family calendar. Nothing is
Yes.
better than planning ahead and letting your children know this is what you can expect. It builds anticipation, enthusiasm, and cooperation when those dates come around. So, those are some of the tips that we have together that we wanted to share with you. Becky, is there anything else that you'd like to add in that before we sign off this evening?
Tara, I just want to say how excited I am for these families. I mean, so many states have different options than they did just even from last year, and families having choices. I mean, it's such a good thing, and I'm so excited for these families. And if anybody has questions, I would most definitely suggest you take a look at our website. You can always drop a comment or a question, and Tara and I will be happy to answer it. But we're just so happy for you all.
We are very excited, and it's enthusiastically that we say welcome to the choice team. So as you wait in the hallway, we hope that these tips have been helpful to you, and we look forward to seeing you on another episode of Tuesday Talks with Mom.